There's been a lot of discussion lately about truck turn times at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. How long does it take a truck to drop off or pick up a container, and how long should it take? To understand this issue, it's important to know what it takes to drop off or pick up a container at the ports. Picking up a container at a marine terminal isn't like picking up a cheeseburger at a drive-thru. More than a dozen important issues need to be addressed in security, financial integrity, and safety during the process. This process diagram, developed for a national study on terminal operations, indicates the complexity. Many of these checks are required by the federal government to protect security and enforce trade requirements and duties, while others are required by the terminal operators to ensure that valuable cargo goes to its rightful owners. This video will take you inside a typical truck turn at a grounded terminal in the Los Angeles Long Beach Port Complex. This is what happens when a truck arrives to drop off an empty container and pick up an import container. The process starts when the trucker arrives at the security checkpoint. By federal law, he must show he is authorized to enter a terminal by presenting his federally issued transport worker identification credential. He then drives through an RFID scanner that checks whether the truck is registered in the Clean Truck database so that only approved trucks are allowed to enter the terminal. The driver then proceeds to the entry pedestal and tells the clerk what he's here to do: drop off an empty and pick up an import container. The terminal must also verify that the truck has permission to pick up the requested container and confirm whether the container is available to be picked up. Is it off the ship? Has it been released by the steamship line? Has it cleared U.S. Customs? Is it free from any U.S. Department of Agriculture holds? Is it free from any holds for unpaid fees such as demurrage, storage, or the traffic mitigation fee? And at terminals with appointment systems, does the truck have a current appointment? If the answer to any of these questions is no, the trucker is issued a trouble ticket and has to pull his truck over to the trouble ticket window and call his trucking company. Trouble tickets add an average of an hour to a transaction time, but some issues can take several hours to resolve. A majority of trouble tickets can be avoided by checking with the terminal's online systems before sending a truck. Assuming the truck and its driver have been cleared to pick up the container, the driver is told where to go to pick it up. First, he needs to drop off the empty container. The driver lines up in the load empty queue. When he reaches the second pedestal, a clerk directs him where to go in the yard depending on whether he's dropping off an empty container or a loaded container for export. The driver then goes to the designated yard spot, where yard equipment will come and take the empty container off the chassis. The driver then proceeds to the designated spot in the container yard to pick up the import container. The rubber-tired gantry, or RTG, has to locate the container in the stack and retrieve it. Doing so may require moving several other containers stacked above it. To deliver one container, it takes an average of 3 container moves by the RTG. With the current random access system in which a truck arrives unannounced at any time to pick up any container, there's no way of staging the containers for rapid flow. If the truck is there to pick up a refrigerated container, it goes to collect it at the reefer yard, where the container will be waiting on a chassis. The truck hooks up to the chassis and container. The temperature is double-checked and a new chart is installed. The unit is unplugged from the terminal's power and then plugged into the truck's electricity generator. Once the container has been loaded onto the chassis, the truck proceeds to the roadability area, where drivers have an opportunity to have minor chassis repairs completed before exiting the terminal. If there's a problem with the chassis, the mechanics attempt to repair it. If they can't, the truck will need to go to the flip line to have the container removed, the chassis replaced, and the container placed on the second chassis. Upon completion, the driver proceeds to the radiation portal monitor for a mandatory security scan by U.S. Customs. The truck then continues onto the security exit to receive the final check of documents and authorization to leave the terminal. The truck then exits the terminal and heads out to its destination. On average, all these steps together take about 60 to 70 minutes, about 40 minutes for a complete import pickup transaction, and an additional 20 to 30 minutes to drop off the empty container or a loaded container for export. The marine terminal operators at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach are committed to maintaining their position among the most productive terminals in North America by providing the fastest turn times that conditions allow. We are actively evaluating methods that let cargo move even more quickly. For example, by pre-staging large groups of containers being picked up by the same cargo owner, We are also committed to minimizing negative impacts on communities around the ports, including by running the PurePass night and Saturday shifts, which have kept local roads from becoming gridlocked during the daytime. For more information on productivity at the terminals, visit purepass.org/productivity.